When your two aces go down and suddenly every prospect in your system isn't safe anymore. Is this really happening? You know that feeling when you wake up and check your phone, and the first thing you see makes your stomach drop? That moment when you realize the nightmare you were having isn't actually a dream. It's your reality? That's what it felt like this Tuesday morning for every Yankees fan who opened Twitter and saw the news. Gerrit Cole and Carlos Rodon are both out for the start of the season. Elbow surgeries. Clark Schmidt also down. The rotation that was supposed to carry this team to October is suddenly a house of cards that just collapsed. And now Brian Cashman is scrambling. Desperately. The Athletic just dropped a bomb. The Yankees are in active negotiations with the Miami Marlins for Edward Cabrera. Not because they want him, because they need him. Because without Cole and Rodon, the 2026 season is over before it starts. Let me be brutally honest with you. This is a disaster. This is the kind of situation that defines whether a general manager is a genius or gets fired. And right now, Brian Cashman is staring down the barrel of the most consequential decision of his career. Because the Miami Marlins know exactly what position the Yankees are in. They know we're desperate. They know we have no leverage. And they're about to make us pay through the nose. Edward Cabrera, 27 years old, finally put all together in 2025 with a 3.53 ERA and 150 strikeouts. His walk rate, which has always been his Achilles heel, finally came down to a manageable 3.1 per 9 innings. The stuff has always been electric. The fastball sits in the mid to upper 90s with movement. The changeup is a legitimate out pitch. The slider can make major league hitters look foolish. This is exactly the kind of high upside arm that the Yankees need, especially in a rotation that suddenly has more question marks than answers. But here's where it gets painful. Here's where every Yankees fan needs to brace themselves for what's coming. The Marlins don't need to trade Edward Cabrera. He's making peanuts, projected at just $3.7 million in arbitration. He's under team control through 2028. He's young, he's talented, and he just had his best season. Miami has zero incentive to move him unless someone makes him an offer they can't refuse. And that offer, according to analysts following these negotiations, starts with Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones, the 6'7" left-handed hitting outfield prospect that scouts have been drooling over for years. The guy who hit 29 home runs between AA and AAA last season. The player who represents the future of the Yankees outfield. The Marlins want him, and they're not stopping there. They want Ben Hess, the pitching prospect with a power arm. They might even ask for Roderick Arias, the shortstop with tools across the board. This is what's called a Godfather offer, the kind of package that's so overwhelming you can't say no. And the Marlins are betting that with Cole and Rodon out, the Yankees literally can't afford to say no. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. What's more important, keeping your top prospect and hoping he develops into a star 3 or 4 years from now, or having a legitimate starting pitcher who can help you win games right now when your entire rotation just imploded? Because that's the choice Brian Cashman is facing. That's the impossible decision that's keeping him up at night. Trade Spencer Jones and potentially regret it for a decade if he becomes a superstar. Or keep Jones and watch the 2026 season circle the drain because you don't have enough starting pitching to compete. And here's what makes this even more agonizing. Edward Cabrera isn't a sure thing. He's had his own injury issues, shoulder problems, blister issues that have cost him starts. He's been inconsistent throughout his career. Yes, 2025 was a breakthrough season, but what if it was a fluke? What if you trade away the farm for a guy who reverts back to being a frustrating, high-walk pitcher who can't stay healthy? But what choice do you have? Luis Gil is talented but inconsistent. Nestor Cortez is a crafty lefty but not an ace. Marcus Stroman is solid but not someone you want as your number 2 starter. Without Cole and Rodon, the Yankees' rotation is a disaster waiting to happen. You need Edward Cabrera. You need him badly, and the Marlins know it. And just to make the situation even more painful, you're not alone in wanting him. The Mets, of course it's the Mets, are also interested. So are the Cubs. The Marlins are sitting back, listening to offers, playing teams against each other, and watching the price go up with every phone call. If the Yankees hesitate, if Cashman tries to protect Spencer Jones, Edward Cabrera could end up across town wearing orange and blue. Imagine that. Imagine watching Cabrera dominate for the Mets while the Yankees are running out bullpen games in April because they don't have enough healthy starters. That's the nightmare scenario. That's what keeps Brian Cashman up at night. That's why he might have no choice but to pull the trigger on a deal that makes him sick to his stomach. And there's another name floating around in all of this. Freddie Peralta, the Milwaukee Brewers ace who just had an all-star season with a 2.70 ERA. The Yankees are still in conversations about him too. Peralta is more proven than Cabrera. He's been an elite pitcher for years. But he's also more expensive, both in terms of salary, $8 million, and prospects. And he's only got 1 year of team control left before he hits free agency. That's the calculation Cashman has to make. Do you trade even more prospects for 1 year of Freddie Peralta? Or do you take the risk on Edward Cabrera, who gives you 3 years of control and the potential for sustained success, even if he's less proven? Either way, you're getting the farm system. Either way, you're betting the future on the present. Either way, you're making a move that could define this franchise for the next decade. Let me paint you the picture of what happens if the Yankees don't make a move. Opening day arrives. Garrett Cole is rehabbing. Carlos Rodon is on the injured list. Clark Schmidt isn't ready. Your rotation is Luis Gil, Nestor Cortez, Marcus Stroman, and who? A collection of AAA arms who aren't ready for prime time? Bullpen games in April? That's not a championship roster. That's a team that's going to be fighting for a wild card spot and hoping to get hot at the right time. Now imagine the alternative. Edward Cabrera is in pinstripes. He's your number 2 starter behind whoever is healthy. His electric stuff is playing up in the American League East. His improved command is keeping him out of trouble. He's giving you 180 innings of quality work, while Cole and Rodon recover. That's the difference between competing for a division title and scrambling to stay above .500. But it costs you Spencer Jones. It costs you Ben Hess. It might cost you Roderick Arias. You're trading away 3 potential stars for 1 proven commodity. That's the deal. That's what the Marlins are demanding. And if you want Edward Cabrera badly enough, that's what you're going to have to pay. I know what some of you are thinking. We can't trade Spencer Jones. He's untouchable. But let me ask you this. Who's really untouchable when your entire rotation just went down with injuries? Who's really untouchable when you're staring at the possibility of wasting another year of Aaron Judge's prime? Who's really untouchable when the Mets are breathing down your neck and ready to swoop in and steal the player you desperately need? The answer is nobody. When you're in crisis mode, when your season is on the line before it even starts, nobody is untouchable. Not Spencer Jones. Not Jasson Domínguez. Not anyone. Because if you don't have starting pitching, none of those prospects matter. You're not winning anything without arms. And here's the thing that really gets me. This situation was avoidable. The Yankees knew Cole was getting older. They knew Rodon had injury concerns. They should have been more aggressive in adding rotation depth this offseason. They should have seen this coming. But they didn't, and now they're paying the price. Now they're in a position where they have to make a desperate move and overpay because they didn't plan ahead. That's on Brian Cashman. That's on the front office. That's on the organization for not being proactive enough. And now the fans are going to watch as the farm system gets gutted because management didn't do their job properly. But dwelling on what should have been doesn't change what is. The reality is that Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon are out. The reality is that the rotation is in shambles. The reality is that Edward Cabrera is available, and the Marlins want a king's ransom for him. The reality is that Brian Cashman has to make a decision, and it's going to be painful no matter what he chooses. If he trades Spencer Jones and Cabrera becomes a star, he's a genius who saved the season. If he trades Spencer Jones and Cabrera gets hurt or struggles, he's the guy who gave away the future for nothing. If he doesn't trade for Cabrera and the rotation implodes, he's the guy who was too conservative when the team needed him to be bold. If he doesn't trade for Cabrera and Spencer Jones becomes a superstar, he's a guy who made the right call by protecting the future. There's no winning here. There's only choosing which risk you're willing to take. And right now, with the season starting in a few months and no healthy aces, the risk of doing nothing feels a lot bigger than the risk of overpaying for Edward Cabrera. So here we are, Tuesday, January 5th, 2026. The Yankees are in crisis mode. The Marlins are holding all the cards. The Mets are lurking. And Brian Cashman has to decide whether to pull the trigger on a deal that could save the season or haunt him for years. What would you do, Yankees fans? Would you trade Spencer Jones for Edward Cabrera? Would you roll the dice on a pitcher with injury concerns to save a season that's already in jeopardy? Or would you hold on to your prospects and hope that somehow, some way, the rotation holds together long enough for Cole and Rodon to come back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button if you want to see how this saga unfolds. Because one way or another, Brian Cashman is about to make a decision that defines the next decade of Yankees baseball. And we're all going to be watching, holding our breath, hoping he gets it right. Because if he doesn't, this season could be over before it even begins.